Here we are, second semifinals of the tournament. It's another Infernal versus Vanguard, but two different players from Korea spawning in the bottom left-hand corner. This is Control. And in the top right, the blue Celestial player. This is MC. Now, this, I think, might look like a much different series compared to our previous one. It's going to be the same matchup all the way through, but much different players. Of course, both of these players very well known in the StarCraft 2 scene, and they will bring with them a wealth of RTS understanding. So this is a single elimination bracket. We started with 16 players yesterday. We're all the way down to our top four, and we just saw Snockstar and Grimmy. Snockstar eking out a victory 4-3 over his opponent. And now we get a chance to see the opposite side of our semifinals coming in as well. So very possible that we could see a mirror matchup in the grand finals. It'll come down to what kind of games we get out of these two players. But already we are seeing a much different approach, much more standard play, if you will, out of our Celestial player. But Control coming in here, I mean, he's on one base right now, and he's got a DPS squad to be reckoned with. So there are 3 collection arrays, not a whole lot of unit production at this current onset. Sovereign Watch is going to push back this army just a little bit as the Fiend's going to rotate around, just checking out what exists on the map. So Control not going to find the lethal damage that he's looking for, is going to just take a step back and grab himself a natural expand on top of it. So we've seen so much aggressive micro-oriented play, but now we are going to maybe see a bit more, I'm going to say classic RTS style play. Get those economies built up, utilize the creep camp to their fullest extent, and hopefully get a chance to see some really cool micro moments in this series. But MC is going to push forward here, trying to poke with those Argent, keeping Control under wraps here as he is going to wrestle control of the different camps on the map. So he does have a speed tower locked up. That's going to go back to MC here in just a brief moment. But it seems as if that is where MC wants to be. He just wants to keep pressure onto these different camps from Control and not allow him to just own the map at this point. Gaunts, no upgrades at this point, so we don't have any plague axes, so no use of that effigy at this point. Effigy would still be useful to give back a little bit of that white bar health, so it wouldn't be a waste of resources. But until you have those plague axes out of the ritual chamber, it's not quite the investment that it could be. So utilizing the animus in a different way, just kind of banking it right now. You can hold on to 1,000 of this animus. It's actually an absurdly large number. All right, some Fiend's going to come up in here and find a little bit of information. Trying to take down a power bank, forcing out a Sovereign's Watch from MC, excuse me. Nice opportunity to deal a little bit of damage. But instead, these Argents are going to find those units and clean them up as well. MC with really good Argent control here. I don't really think he has lost too many, if any. Now he does have those photocapacitor upgrades, which add 20 additional energy to these Argents. Again, remember, Argents need to have 10 energy in their bank if they want to do their full damage. If they don't have access to that, at least 10 energy, they deal significantly less. I think it's like 50% less. It is a big drop. So energy management is so important for the Celestial player, especially when Argents are the largest part of that army. So it looks like Control's going to try and grab that third base on the left-hand side as well. Both players starting to maneuver towards mid-game and late-game tech options as the Twilight Spire is going to come down here for Control. We see a Legion Hall as well for MC, as MC is going to want to tap into the Seraphim. That will be very, very useful for clearing camps and kind of owning some vertical space in this map. Control going to get caught out here with this army. These Gaunts not really going to fight in the best possible way. Dropping a Nightfall Infestation, feeling very brave here. I think that is a wildly brave choice by Control, thinking that he had a position on this army. Even with Nightfall Infestation, yeah, sure, it does slow down the Argents from retreating. But I just think the Argents have way too much energy, and with access to Purify Nova would not only get so much of that energy back to engage against this army, but would remove all of those debuffs as well. So I think Control actually missing that Nightfall Infestation, a bit of a blessing in disguise. It'll all come down to this push here. We do have an Arc Fortress, and this is going to be quite the interesting push. Having that tier 3 building means that we might see some lasers here. This is the Aurail special, utilizing this Arc Fortress to bring in the infusion and knock this base out of the sky. That is going to be a base that goes down. My goodness, the laser beam so strong here, forcing Control into a bad engagement, and there's just not nearly enough army, and losing out on that natural expand is going to be increasingly more difficult. This Arc Fortress does take a lot of damage, but really this is not the structure that needs to be dealt damage to. It's gotta be these Argents here. One Nightfall Infestation is going to land, but those Argents, they don't even mind. They can deal with the infestation for a brief amount of time. The damage was done. The shrine has fallen in the natural. That leaves this base wide open here at the third. There's actually no mining even taking place. These imps were rescued, but I mean, to what end? There really isn't anything of a major consequence happening here for Control. MC has a great army supply advantage. It's 84 to 49. And MC in a very, very strong position here. I think he just pushes on up. Yeah, absolutely. The laser beam here dropping down onto the shrine, and that's going to be way too much. GG is called, and MC commanding game number 1 knocks Control out of this game. And if you missed any of these series, chat, my plan today and tomorrow will be to work on starting to produce these videos for YouTube. So all of the series that I've covered in this event will go up onto my YouTube. So if you are interested, !YouTube in the chat. Make sure you are subscribed so you get a chance to catch all of those series. That's my goal for 2025. If I'm covering events, I gotta upload those videos to YouTube. But I will say I do need some help from a thumbnail artist. So if you know somebody that's really good at making YouTube thumbnails, have them message me. Find me on Discord, DM me on Twitter. Definitely in search of some help there. Would love to work out some fun things. So it seems like Control is going to go into a much greedier, or not greedier, a much more aggressive position here again in game number 2. I mean, he wasn't wildly successful doing this in game 1 on a lot smaller map. I mean, we started on Broken Crown, which was a better map for this type of play. But on the Boneyard, this is a very strong Celestial map. A lot of space for Celestial players to expand, but also these island bases as well that contain a Luminite mine, which Collection Array will be able to just kind of chill right here. If Control is able to get vision of it, he can attack this with Gaunts. So it's not like it's impossible to get to this, but it is way less convenient, way more difficult to make that work. Interesting. Control running out to this expansion to grab his second base, I suppose. Wait, I never saw this base go down. Okay, that changes things. That changes the whole narrative here. So Control way more economic here in game number 2. It just kind of blended in. I mean, even just looking at the mini map, you can't see that base existing while the health tower is contained. So a much different map. I actually like this way more for Control. You have such a big map where your opponent is able to take, I mean, gonna grab his 4th Luminite mine here at this point. You really need to try and go band for band with your opponent, and it is difficult to do. However, trying to tap into this tier 2 tech, grabbing the Greater Shrine, utilizing your opportunity to get these Luminite mines without a ton of harassment. He's done the recommended amount of scouting to make sure that his opponent isn't just coming across the map and proxying out some buildings and structures to deal with. So as a result, able to tap into the economic push. But I think it's going to be quickly evolving here as Control will need to find a way to deal with these Kree that already have a rollout. We don't have photocapacitors just yet. Is that going to be on the horizon? Yes, it is. It is being researched. So now this is going to be an aggressive kind of play here for MC, who can afford it to dive in here. Even if he doesn't get a ton of damage done, he really disrupts his opponent's timings here. And all of these Kree adeptly dealt with. Very great control by Control to micro his units out of harm's way, dropping some more effigies here to keep these gaunts on the pursuit. They do have plague axes, so we can see that this fiend count rapidly grows, and now suddenly 52 to 40 on that supply count. Suddenly it's MC that's on the run here against Control. Now these fiends can't fight against Kree. Kree are always going to be able to out DPS in even a small number of Kree. These have good positioning and good splash damage when they come out of their rollout. And these fiends don't have a ton of health. So yeah, you can see that, oh, they just shred through those fiends, utilizing that rollout attack. But now we've got an Infernal player on a little bit stronger economy. But MC is leapfrogging his way forward here. Where are we at? I think we're still at 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And a 5th on the way as well. So just owning that left side of the map. Trying to secure a good economic position. I mean, once MC has all of the collection arrays that he's looking for, he's just going to be able to pump units out like crazy. Grabbing a Legion Hall as well, which will mean this Arc Station can push into a tier 3. And it seems like MC, once again, game number 2 is going to lean into this tier 3 timing, grabbing the Arc Station, bringing it up to an Arc Fortress, and having it available to use the Epic Laser Beam to knock down the Shrine. And it does so much damage. I mean, it costs energy, but it's something that can deal very, very lethal damage in a location very quickly. And it forces opponents into an engagement that they might not otherwise be prepared for. So it's all about the timings. It's all about the positioning for the Celestial player. So we have a couple of imps wandering over here. Not sure if those are trying to head up to the high ground, but they are going to scout this Legion Hall position. Yeah, and here we are getting to the Arc Fortress as well. A little bit of a fight happening here in the main base. This is a way more exposed position for these Gaunts, and the Kree finding a lot more damage here. The Shroud Stone is kind of a ways back here. Not enough Animus at this point to manifest an additional Shroud Stone, but you can see how quickly those tides change once fiends are brought into the fight. And honestly, the entire army here for Control allows for this army to get pushed back and out of position once again. The Arc Station is on its last legs here, 3/4 of the way done to that Arc Fortress. We are going to see the imps try and come up here and populate this 4th base location. and should be able to see, yeah, that this collection array is already here. I wouldn't be surprised to see that imp turn into a shroud stone to push that unit back and away. But now it makes MC look in a couple of different directions. He knows that there's a base on the left-hand side that he needs to start dealing with, but the army here on the right-hand side is already a force to be reckoned with, and this becomes an interesting spot for MC to try and fight into. There, the Legion Hall has not produced more than just a couple of Seraphim at this point. Mostly its function was to get this Arc Fortress on the map, and now we start looking at that power supply, and we start seeing how these army units are going to engage. This is a lot of units for Control, but Control also has a ton of money in the bank. I'm not sure what he's saving up for. College is expensive, but I'm not sure if this is going to be the best way to utilize those funds, as a Purifying Nova does hold down the right-hand side of this push, but there's just way too many Gaunts, and these units get shoved out of position. Reinforcements are going to connect with these Argents on the right-hand side. The Legion Hall not getting tapped down is a bit of a surprise here, as the collection array is going to be used for a Sovereign's Watch on the retreating army. Arc Fortress on the high ground here, just trying to bide some time, get this energy built up, utilizing as much of the resources there as humanly possible. We don't have a Luminite mine in this position, but that would be another spot that would be good to utilize a Sovereign's Watch from. Instead, Control is just going to pressure this Legion Hall a little bit out of position. This army is going to get caught in the Luminite camp. That will be a good spot to try and gain access to. If you're Control, he's going to drop the shroud on the entirety of the map. Hellborn here as the reinforcements getting into a better spot to deal some additional damage, but now all of these Gaunts will be able to infest army units anywhere on the map, and that means more fiends and more problems for MC, as Control is trying to wrestle back this left side of the map. He knows that his opponent has got to be getting into a position where he's going to start targeting down shrines, and he doesn't want to allow MC the opportunity to get that taken care of. So all of a sudden now we see effigies being dropped. Kree start falling, and once Kree are removed from the equation here, I think these Argents are going to have a difficult time locking down a position here. A couple of Hellborn here just working their way down on an Argent, and suddenly now the production of MC is completely stilted here. 114 to 58. That's not going to go well for him. He's going to lose the remainder of his army here, and it's going to come at what cost? The Arc Fortress is nowhere else on the map. It's still retreating to the high ground. Additional Argents get brought into the mix, but this is just becoming a worse and worse situation here for MC. He doesn't have near the footing that he had in game number one, doesn't have the control of this map, and suddenly his infernal opponent is able to push on forward. Again, have to respect those Kree while they are on the map, but once they get removed and they are allowed to explode, it's all forward towards those Argents to deal as much damage as humanly possible. But that's a great Sovereign's Watch here from the high ground on this collection array. One Hellborn does try to work its way down. Picking off more of these Kree is going to be good. A lot of damage going down onto those Gaunts though as well, just softening up this army. The Gaunts do need to stay high in supply. They are like glass cannons. Think about them like Hydralisk from StarCraft 2. They deal a lot of damage, but they take a lot of damage as well, and that's enough for MC to tap out. GG is called, and Control wrestles back a 1-1 advantage in this series. Yeah, we've got some wonderful people playing Stormgate, and you can too. All you have to do is download it on Steam. It is free to play. Big shout out to Frost Giant Studios for making it available. If Control wins, Nockstar will be #1 again. Control is the #1 Korean Infernal. All of those things very true. I wouldn't mind a non-mirror matchup in the final, because then that would also mean 2 mirror matchups. We would get the 3rd place match, which will take place after this semifinal, and the grand final. But I also know, deep in my heart, that means it's 4 IVCs. So it's either 2 mirror matchups, or we have the exact same matchup 4 times. I don't know. I don't know, man. Hard to say. All right, Control is going to be a bit aggressive here, wanting to try and find some early economic damage, sending some fiends into the main base. That power bank is going to get dangerously low, but it does fend off those fiends in the short term. But that does leave an opening here in the natural for Control to harass this collection array. I think this is just going to go down. I think there's no saving this. You can't lift it at this point. There's no units on the way as well. So MC just calculating that as a loss. Utilizing Ethereum Purifier here early on is a unique choice. So Control leaning back into his game one mentality, trying to come out swinging with some early production structure. So it's going to be Conclave Iron Vault into a shrine. So not nearly as economical, but we're going to get Starforge this time around. It's going to be Vector play. All right. A little variation here in game number 3. Now, Vectors were the recipient of a small nerf here in the most recent patch, which actually came out 2 days ago on December 20th. If you're watching this live right now, exclamation point patch in the chat, and you can see the changes that were made. Nothing was monumental, but one of the bigger changes was that Vectors, when they use their recall potential after they have their upgrades, before the patch they were able to jump forward, deal a whole bunch of damage and take damage, but then when they would recall back, all of their damage would disappear. It would revert to whatever they had at the beginning of their jump. That no longer is the case. You can still jump back and forth, but much like Stalkers in StarCraft 2, whatever damage they take prior to jumping back, they keep that damage. So it is a change. It's not wildly different, but definitely forces the Celestial player to be a little bit more thoughtful in terms of engagements and utilizing that jump back and forth. But these Vectors are going to be very, very good at dealing with this type of army. Vectors do bonus damage to light. It is funny because Gaunts also do bonus damage to light. So it's one of those engagements that will come down to positioning and army quantity. Vectors don't deal bonus damage to light ground. I'm mistaken. My apologies. I assumed that the first attack was ground. It is in fact air. So I'm incorrect. They just deal very quick damage. My apologies. Okay, Fiends come up here to check that third base has not been resecured by the boss toss himself. Has not been. He's moved down to this double Luminite location. So now instead is going to be a plunge into the main base here with these Fiends, utilizing the collection array, try and get some additional damage. Where did those Vectors go? Vectors got out of dodge. Where are they? Oh, they're over here over in the vision camp. So running away from these Gaunts, I think this would be a fight that they would lose, but instead they're going to try and do damage in a different place here. Diving on into the natural, forcing out a Shroud Stone from Control. This is not a bad position for it to be anyways, so this is a good use of the Animus, but it does force out a timing. Because now I mean, it's got to be something like a 2 or 3 minute reset timer on this Shroud Stone manifestation. So it will take a decent amount of time before this structure is available again. This just happens to be a really, really good spot for it. So Twilight Spire going to be on the way. Tier 3 tech can be on the menu. This is going to be a very punishing position here for these Vectors who can kind of leap out the back door to safety. Going to try and find as many kills as they possibly can, picking off some Gaunts here, getting a lot of damage done onto that Brute. It seems like Control, though, going to try and catch this army and be a little bit cheeky. Will it be able to jump on top of this? No. MC gets out the north side and Control unable to capitalize on the positioning there. So instead, MC is going to rotate around, grabs some additional Luminite towers. And both players are settling back into clearing camps once again. Third base does go down for control. It does go on the south side, so this lacks the potency of the double Luminite mine expansion. That's where MC is going to take a brief advantage. Got 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not a crazy amount of mining, but sabers have been introduced in as well. Not too surprising, especially since there's 2 Star Forges. And this is a pretty standard army composition, but usually we see a lot of Argents with this, and that is not currently present in this group. Picking off these Fell Hogs is going to be nice. They are free units essentially for control, so it buys a little bit of time. These Imps are allowed to stick around, picking off a couple of these exposed Gaunts. Ooh, instead, this time, Control going to bring more army up in here. Is he going to be able to get the pinch this time? No. Once again, oh, good use of that Nightfall Infestation. Not able to connect, though. Very good control by MC. He'll be able to retreat with all of these Dorito chips. You know, from the low ground, these sabers are going to be a bit spooky to deal with. The production structures, though, for MC are painfully low. It's one creation chamber and 3 Starforge, and that's it. Not that that's necessarily bad, but it pales in comparison to the quantity of this army from Control. So I worry that there could be a moment where this army of Control just overwhelms the army of MC, even if it trades out inefficiently to some degree. Control's going to have way more production. He's going to have way more opportunity to boost his army supply back up, but it's going to be a Starforge towards the front. This is going to be reinforcing Starforge as well, so we're going to see additional sabers, additional vectors. Let's see what kind of interactions take place here. Good use of the Weaver to pull one of those sabers from the back line. That's going to be the Weaver's primary and maybe only purpose at this point. Good use of the Purify Nova to try and keep the energy alive on this Arc Station, but that Arc Station is going to be dangerously low here. It's exposed, and there's not a whole lot of room to support it. If he knocks down this Arc Station, so too goes a lot of energy here, but I feel like this is a big kind of piece of bait, because these sabers are able to get a ton of damage down onto these Gaunts, and the Arc Station is able to survive here. 150 health here. It does stay above 100 health for a brief moment, but I think Control has more than enough here. 92 to 49. These Gaunts are just going to step forward, and MC is going to have to back up. He's going to lose this Arc Station, and GG is called. I was worried about the right thing. The quantity of MC's army was outweighed by the quality. GG. Yeah, I don't see MC leaning into the cheeky play like Grimmy. No disrespect. That's not like a diss on Grimmy in any way, shape, or form. Grimmy's awesome. He's also beat the crap out of me on the ladder more than a few times. And I can sense him like coming for me now. So we usually stream at about the same time and play Stormgate games at about the same time. Now he's gonna come for me. This is not positive vibes. I just said you're great. How much more positive you want me to be? The greatest. Got it. Guys, Grimmy is so good. Grimmy's so amazing. Can everyone in chat right now say thank you, Grimmy, for showing us the greatest Stormgate games known to mankind? Or just type in thank you, Grimmy. That would mean a lot to me, but most importantly, I think it would mean a lot to Grimmy. So we'll see what the people have to say. Oh, there we go. Look at that. A little bit of love. Gotta love it. Oh man, having too much fun. Glad you guys could be here today. Thanks so much for tuning in, folks. And if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching as well. Be sure to hit that follow button. Subscribe to the channel. Like the video. All the things. So this has been a relatively just subdued opening here by both of our players. Control leaning into a little bit more economic play here. He's got his second shrine down. Third shrine is going as well, utilizing his opening units to clear some of these camps. And on this map in particular, this is a strong map for infernal play, simply because of the mobility factor. I mean, these fiends are really quick, especially with the speed camps in those top corners. You can kind of slingshot your units into the center of the map to get some of these additional units. And you can do that with the Argents, but the Argents are just kind of slow on their own right. And it's not nearly as impactful for the Celestial player to try and slingshot units through the map. Now, there's going to come a point where these siege camps become very, very valuable, especially to the Celestial player who can just pick them up with the top bar ability and just boop, just clear the camp. That's all the Celestial players here, by the way. It's just boop. That's how they know. So control grabbing some resources off of those camps. Actually stealing those slimes is very, very good. I think it's like 50 or 75 Illuminite. It's significant. Might be 75. All right. Standard shrines. Good economic push. Especially when your opponent has gone double Illuminite mine. We've got a Legion Hall as well. Very early Legion Hall. Yeah, and that's where I think we're going to start seeing these skull squishers being utilized for sure. Oh boy. Uh-oh. Morph Core. Morph Core, don't do it. I don't know what it killed. I don't think it killed a unit. But it's on a thin line, mister. Okay, we do have additional production structures going up. We've got a ritual chamber. Not researching plague axes at this point. Oh, it's clearing the grass. All right. I mean, but the Argents can run through that grass. Unless I'm missing something. Ooh, MC going for a little bit of a proxy push here. So dropping the creation chamber. Reminder to all of you, one of the mechanics of Celestial players is you can designate a production structure as the prime structure. So this building can all produce their units and it'll all pop out here. Very, very strong. It's not crazy out of balance, because it does put a lot of pressure on holding that one position. But it does mean you get reinforcements to the front lines very, very quickly. And we do see an Arc Fortress here. So it is going to be the Jesus house. Aurail again, grinning ear to ear, I'm sure. But this is going to be a decent amount of pressure here. A lot of Gaunts. Gaunts still don't have Plague Axes. Is Plague Axes on the way? Did Control forget about it? He must have. He must have forgotten about Plague Axes, because Plague Axes here would actually be very, very pivotal. But instead, no, it's not on the menu here. It's not on the Ritual Chamber. It is not in the cards. I'm going to try and keep this Ritual Chamber up because I'm curious. There it finally goes. Oh, Control probably forgot it. Oh, didn't realize it was not researched. And it's 50-50. It's not like it costs that much. It's not like he needed to spend that money elsewhere. It is such a cheap upgrade for so much benefit. But fortunately for Control, MC takes a step back here, has his own upgrades. He's got photocapacitors, so all of these Argents do have 50 energy each. And the Jesus house is on the way, working down one of the conclaves, trying to work away at the production. Gaunts still are not here yet, but the Archangel is going to be brought into the fight as well. Tier 3 is here, and those Archangels are so good at dealing damage to the Gaunts. They do so much splash damage when they hit the ground. Now, Spriggans are eventually going to render that Archangel a pushback, but it is not going to come without cost. And GG is called. Control for getting his upgrade. And that sets him out as we even up the series 2-2. It has been very interesting to see our players wiggle back and forth between their styles of play. It just has been unique. I kind of like that. I mean, it's better than just seeing one specific play style over and over again. Variety is the spice of life, right? Grimmy, you can't take everything that I say and think it's about you. That's main character syndrome, my friend. Now you're ruining my positive vibes. Whoa. Oh, we're having way too much fun. All right, so this map has a lot of different opportunities to hide different things. We actually saw in the previous iteration of the tournament, I mean, these camps actually being utilized in very unique and inspiring ways. Mostly Vanguard push. I mean, you could get workers up here and knock down some trees and build some buildings in key locations to hold spots. But Control, once again, taking advantage of the greedy opening from his opponent, trying to get some damage dealt. I think that this is going to end up being fine for MC. He's in a little bit stronger position here. He's got a Morph Core to deal some additional damage, had access to the collection array on top of it. So instead, Control is going to back up, just try and clear some camps. But even that is going to be a bit of a challenge as well, because there are Argents on the map as well. So we'll have to see the direction that everything goes here for Control. Now, the Ritual Chamber is being built. I don't think Control can afford to forget the upgrades once again. Game number 4. Not having those Plague Axes really put a damper on his hold as MC came across the map with a very strong proxy timing. So I don't think he will make that mistake once again. I would be surprised. Let's put it that way. So now we do have a Morph Core going to the top left-hand corner. I mean, that's a nice spot to find an additional base. These Argents are low on energy, but there is just enough there. The DPS is going to be strong enough to push this back. A Guardian Nexus rather far forward, being able to provide a little bit of integrity to a defense there, as you can overpower the Guardian Nexus, and it does give nearby structures additional armor. Kind of an interesting perspective, especially since like this Guardian Nexus is currently in the middle of nowhere. But ideally, MC has a plan. He'd like to push that forward, maybe get some additional production structures out there and start moving his army in a quicker direction. Would not be too terribly surprising. Right now, Control's still sitting on 2 base economy, and he actually doesn't even have tier 2 tech as well. So he's been spending a lot of his energy and resources into this Gaunt push, which really hasn't yielded a whole lot. And there's so many Argents coming across the map. I mean, now we are going to get photocapacitors, and these Argents actually are just going to be their own timing of itself. I wouldn't be surprised to see MC turn around and grab this energy camp. Not to mention the boost of 20 energy from photocapacitors, but the ability to regen makes that much stronger. And I feel confident once we find wherever the ARC station happens to be, there it is. We do have tier 2 tech on the map. Still no tier 2 out of control. I'm not sure what his plan is. It looks like he's got a third base on the way, but not even having access. Okay, now finally we're getting that greater shrine. I know it doesn't take terribly long to get that tier 2 push, but you still don't want to do that on the back foot. You'd much rather have access to all of your resources prior to a push rather than in the middle of the push. I just think that's very, very bold in the wrong direction, but seems as if Control is going to be just fine. We'll have access to a manifested Shroud Stone by the time all of these units push out. Trying to keep this meat farm alive. Would like to get that forward momentum here, but there's just so many units here. MC's got 67 supply to the 40 of his opponent. The ARC station is coming in to help out. He is going to provide a little bit of additional health here with his energy. He's got an ability that produces, yeah, that Skyward Salvation. Just provides a little healing over time. And this is going to be another timing attack here for MC. Now, once again, much better position for the upgrades by Control. He does have his Plague Axes. Reaper's Rush is on the way. That's going to allow those gaunts to have additional movement speed. But the upgrades for MC's Argents are already completed. He's got that additional energy. He's going to have the power banks behind this bush to retreat to top up all of his units and keep that DPS as high as humanly possible. Now, there is enough for a Shroudstone manifestation, but that's just way too many Argents here. He's able to instantly knock that down. Good use of the Purifying Nova to nullify the effects of the Nightfall infestation. And suddenly these units have way more staying power than they did even just a moment ago. And this army was pretty strong from the get-go. Falling back to those power banks, topping up all of these units, allowing them to deal as much damage as possible. I wouldn't be surprised. I was just going to say, for this Arc Station to turn into an Arc Fortress, Tier 3 is on the way, and the Jesus House will be floating forward as well. My goodness, this is an aggressive push here by MC, who has also along the way here has cut off the easiest path to his third base location. This is a really strong third that provides access to Therium. But now having to walk all the way around here on the high side does make matters a little bit more complicated. Not to mention, MC at any point could just turn to the north and put a lot of damage onto a very exposed third base location. Now, there are a couple of Hellborn here with a decent spread, one attacking from the high side, one attacking from the low side, another Nightfall infestation, forcing out a Purifying Nova to keep these units alive and in position. But once again, Control not able to really gain access to this position. MC has an overwhelming army supply here, 114 to 70. These Hellborn will be able to work away on the strike node, but this is nowhere near as impactful as it otherwise could be if he had more units to push alongside this. And now the Concave is going to come in here. Seraphim going to fly in from the north side as well. We knew that there was a Legion Hall simply because of the tier 3 tech, and all of these units are now going to get picked away. One Hellborn does get dangerously low here. It does get picked off. The Argent's able to hunt down the second one as well. That Hellborn escaping with 33 health, going to try and get as much damage as possible. Reinforcing gaunts will be useful until the Archangel arrives and dives on in. That's going to target down these vulnerable units. Wouldn't be surprised to see that land on top of a Luminite line as well. I think MC is playing very, very safe, but he definitely doesn't want to accidentally overextend and fold his hand here. But his army supply is massive, 100 to 57. We've got tier 3 out of the Celestial player. Do we even have a Twilight Spire? I don't think we do. So there isn't even a pathway to tier 3 for our Infernal player as well, dropping down onto the very weakened Hellborn. This is now going to be a losing position for the Infernal player. He is going to drop an effigy, try and push things forward, but every time that Archangel sneaks on forward, the threat of great ground damage is so high as the Jesus House comes on in. That laser beam is going to target down that shrine. I think if the shrine falls here in the natural, so too will Control's chances to win this game. GG is called, and Control on the back foot here now drops 3-2 in the series, and MC is on match point. So a delightful scenario if you are MC. The Isle of Dread, a very, very strong map for Celestial players. Access to so many resources very early on. And this is a large map, so being so spread out from your opponent, it is very easy to get yourself spun up in a nice fashion without enduring too much harassment. So MC has found a lot of success in this series, just utilizing his own pace and trying to keep his opponent at bay on the other side of the map. And I think he's got to be feeling pretty confident that he can do that with relative ease in the Isle of Dread here on map number 6. And it's got to feel even better knowing that this is a match point effort. So grabbing these 3 early collection arrays and able to start building himself forward. Very, very important. Now, if you are Control, if you're the Infernal player, what becomes the game plan? I mean, he did open Conclave initially. Don't see an Iron Vault just yet, so it's not a full-on play into this production-only endeavor. A little surprised that we haven't seen a cutout at this point. No third base on the way just yet, but opting to go in a different direction than his opponent, grabbing the natural off to the west of his main base. Does have access to Therium, which admittedly pretty good. But it does seem as if now wanting to take advantage of a shrine. So now both players are just going to just kind of spin themselves up, not doing anything too crazy of consequence. Control able to clear his camps on his side of the map, grabbing all 3 in the triangle, and more than likely reserving the energy tower for last. MC has to take a little bit longer to get his all spun up, but it comes at a different pace for him. So he's able to get his economy spinning a little bit faster, kind of build himself up. Do we have tier 2? Yeah. So we're getting that arc station on the way. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being the same type of build path that we've seen in the previous couple of games for MC, utilizing his timing windows to get up to tier 3. Yep, we've got that Legion Hall now constructing. So Arc Station is complete. I think this is just going to be another classic Jesus House play. And what a great play for MC. Why not knock his opponent out early? Not even give him the opportunity to go to a game number 7. Because actually I have to double check. What is our game 7 if we go there? It's Lost Hope. Okay. Yeah, that's even more reason to try and end this series at game 6, because Lost Hope ideally would be favored for the Infernal player, just due to the nature of the camps in the middle and the way with which Infernal players can maneuver the center of the map. Yeah, going straight up to tier 3 here. So Arc Fortress on the way, grabbing that 4th Luminite mine, having the Legion Hall up here, gonna even just grab the Therium Tower, utilizing all the resources at his disposal. I would not be surprised to just see a couple of Seraphim here, utilizing the energy to pick up some of these camps And Control needs, I think Control needs to recognize what's happening here, because it hasn't been any sort of crazy aggression or really any aggression thus far. We are going to start seeing these Argents pushing forward. Vision Tower is going to catch wind of that, but Control needs to have a sense of what's happening. So one of the things that is worth noting, when these camps are taken, it does not matter if you have vision of them, you can see them on the minimap. And it becomes very important to recognize what's happening when you see your opponents suddenly taking maps throughout different corners of the location that you're at, which is important. I think that is worth paying very close attention to. And now we're going to start seeing MC moving forward here. He's going to have a morph core. We're going to start seeing that proxy push forward. And now Argents are going to be able to start wiggling away here. We've got photocapacitors, so we've got 50 energy for all of these units. And now MC utilizing these trees. These trees are going to be impossible to navigate here. I mean, these gaunts are never going to be able to get close enough to deal the kind of damage that they need to. The Shroud covering the map here at this point, just utilizing the manifested Shroud Stone, but that's not going to be near enough. That base instantly falls, and it came at the cost of absolutely nothing. I mean, energy, but energy is a part of the name of the game here. So very, very good start here for MC as he continues to push this forward. But Control is currently out of control. Is not able to get in the position that he wants to. He does not have Reaper's Rush. It does not appear to be on the way as well. This lack of mobility is going to make it very difficult to dodge these Archangel charges. Archangel is going to swoop on in, grabbing additional energy here so it can pound the ground once again, and the Jesus House continues to deal additional damage. Now, there are Spriggans. Spriggans are going to be very, very helpful here, but I don't think it's going to be nearly enough. If there's no army on the ground to really secure this position in place, I just think that the Spriggans are going to be too little, too late, and MC starts dismantling the army of Control. It's 84 to 64 additional power banks being brought in back behind this. Good use of the Purify Nova to cover this entire army. All of this energy being reintroduced to this pushing force of MC. The reinforcements are on the way as well. The Archangel is very low on health, so that is going to fall. That is a good kill if there wasn't a second Archangel on the way in as well. So reinforcements have arrived. GG is called, and MC preventing the mirror matchup in the grand finals, clearing this series 4-2. The Jesus House lives to see another day.